Welcome back, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good week. We just crossed over the line into fall for this year, which is freaking amazing. I cannot wait for fall and winter. It's my favorite time of the year. For fall, you know what that means? Everybody's getting into pumpkin. So today, that's our inspiration. We're going to be making pumpkin maple scones. They should be really tasty. I'm going to show you some tips and tricks on how to keep them scone-like instead of more like muffins. So let's get into the ingredients that we're going to need today. So for the dry ingredients for the scones, we're going to need flour, just regular all-purpose flour, salt, baking powder, pumpkin pie spice, ground cinnamon. Make sure you grab the cinnamon and not your chili powder, brown sugar, and that's it for the dry ingredients. And then for the wet ingredients, we're going to need a stick of butter, unsalted, 1 egg, some heavy whipping cream, pure vanilla extract, and our pumpkin. We'll show some tips on how to get some of the moisture out of this throughout the video. And then for the icing on top of these scones, it's going to be a mix of some more butter, confectioner sugar, and maple syrup. I'm using the cheap stuff today, but if you have the pure stuff and you're willing to use 1/3 cup of it in this, go for it. But if you want to cheap out like me, get some of the cheap stuff. But that's gonna do it for the ingredients. Let's quit talking and let's get baking. The first thing we need to do is take 1/2 cup of that pumpkin puree and try to get as much of the moisture out of this as possible. So I'm gonna use a couple paper towels and just get the pumpkin on there. And I'll show you here in a minute how much moisture is actually on there. If you're using paper towels, just be extremely careful that you don't break through. So just gentle pressure. Maybe do this in smaller batches, just so you can really squeeze out that moisture without breaking the paper towel. So all this juice is stuff that we didn't want in those scones, so it's definitely a benefit to do it kind of a process. Let me clean this up and we're going to mix the rest of the dry ingredients. For the wet ingredients, we need that pumpkin that we just rinsed out or squeegeed or squeezed, whatever, blotted pumpkin. The next thing we need is an egg. So crack that bad boy in there. And then we also need, where's the heavy cream? We need 1/3 cup of this heavy cream. And don't toss this out, we're actually going to need that later as well. So just whisk this together until it's smooth. I'm also going, oh yeah. Here we're going to add our vanilla, and we need 1 teaspoon of this. This is all the wet ingredients. Let's move on to our dry ingredients. For the dry ingredients, we need 2 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm going to run it through this sifter. Also through the sifter, I'm going to do 2½ teaspoons of baking powder, 1 teaspoon of cinnamon, 1½ teaspoons of pumpkin spice, 1/2 teaspoon of salt. Whisk this together. Now a tip for the next step, which is going to be our butter. So this butter has been in the freezer overnight. If you don't think of doing this recipe that quick in advance or that early in advance, just throw it in the freezer for about an hour. This is going to allow it to firm up so that as we work it into this dough, it doesn't start to melt and it stays in those little shavings. So just use whatever cheese grater you have. We're going to grate this and we'll move on to the next step once we're done with that. So the next step is to use a pastry mixer. I'm not sure what it's really called. Let's see, let's mix this butter with the flour just so it doesn't clump too bad on us. All right, so you want to use this to mix and incorporate that butter into the flour until they're about pea size. Just till it kind of looks like wet sand, so that's going to be good for us. The next step is to add our wet ingredients. And for this, we want to mix it just until it incorporates. All right, so this looks perfect. I'm actually going to throw this in the fridge real quick, clean up my work area, which has turned into a disaster, unfortunately, which is how it goes. So let me put this in the fridge, clean up, and I'll meet you guys back here so we can form our scones. And we're back because I forgot an ingredient. This is going downhill quick. So we forgot our sugar, which we need a ½ cup of brown sugar. Use light or dark or whatever you got. I knew because I tasted it and I was like, that doesn't seem very sweet. So let me put this in the fridge, clean up, and I'll meet you guys back here so we can form our scones. I'm going to form them right on our baking sheet. So this is just a silicone pad onto a cookie sheet. So we just want to form this into a roughly 8-inch disc. And then just taking don't use a knife on these silicone sheets, but if you're using this, just use a pastry cutter. Let me see if I can portion these out. So should be little triangles. So the last step for this is the rest of that heavy whipping cream we had. We're going to take a little pastry brush and just brush the tops with this cream. This will help crisp up, give it a nice golden brown color. Alright, perfect. And then if you wanted to, you could even sprinkle some coarse sugar. I don't have any, so I'm going to pass on that today. But these are going to go into a oven that's set at 400 degrees for 20 to 25 minutes. I'm going to set it for 20, check on them. And if they still look like they need some more time, then I'll put them in for another 2 minutes and just step my way to that 25 mark. But let's get these guys into the oven so we can get to our taste test. All right, everybody, we're just about done here. So the scones have been out for about 5 minutes now, so while they continue to cool, we're gonna make our maple glaze. So I started off, I melted 2 tablespoons of butter. You can use unsalted or salted, totally up to you. Then we need to add 1/3 cup of our maple syrup. That should be good. Kind of account for the butter you have in there. But that should be all set. And then to finish that off, we add some powdered sugar. Hopefully I have enough. Didn't really calculate that one too well, but that's okay. Should be fine. Grab a whisk. And just mix this together till it turns into a glaze. Perfect. You kind of want it to be that consistency. You want to be able to drizzle it over these scones. Just make sure there's no clumps. All right, that looks perfect. So the easiest way I've found to do this is you take I'll say the cleanest way, not necessarily the easiest way. Take a piece of foil, parchment, paper towel, whatever you got. This was the closest thing. So we'll use this. We got our scones. This just allows you to get crazy with the glaze, and then you don't have a big mess. You just crumple that up and throw it away. All right, let's see. So kind of load your whisk up and just as it drizzles off. Let's see, looks like it's going to be easier to spread. I had to make sure I was recording. That'd be my luck with the way today's been going. Oh yeah, these look freaking awesome. All right, and since those scones are still warm, that glaze is just kind of melting into all those nooks and crannies. So these look good from here. Let's get into our taste test, why don't we? Let's see, I'm just gonna break off a piece of this guy. Oh yeah. Smells really good. It smells like pumpkin pie's just been baking in the oven. Oh yeah. Woo. Now this would go with a great warm cup of coffee. That glaze just oozes in. And I honestly think using the cheaper non-real maple syrup, I think you get more of that smoky maple flavor versus the pure expensive stuff. So even if you have that, definitely go for that. These are really good. The scone itself is very biscuit textured, and it's not overly sweet either, which is nice, except for that glaze on top. Definitely a winner in my book. This was the first time making it. Very obvious by all the mishaps throughout this video, but hopefully you guys learned something. I definitely learned something. I think next time I make these, I'm gonna make them into smaller scones, just so that if I bring them into work, people are more likely to grab just one if they're not as big. But they're definitely very good, worth all the effort that we went into to make these. Definitely give it a shot. Like my fingers here. Let us know what you guys think about this recipe. If there's tricks that you guys find out that work better for you, please let us know. So that's it for the recipe for today. I hope you guys are enjoying the fall weather. It's so nice to get out of the heat. Definitely appreciating the decline in temperature. Quick puppy update. So Miss Lynette is, I'm going to put a picture up here in the corner. She is 6 weeks old as of 2 days ago. So we have 3 weeks to pick her up until we pick her up. We would pick her up on the 8th week, but we're going to let the breeder hold on to her for another week. Just get some more socialization with her big dogs. She's doing an awesome job. We just want her to keep doing what she's doing. But we're looking forward to it. So probably one more video until you guys will see her in these videos. We're going to be doing, like we talked last time, doing her training and everything, and just the adventures and cuteness that we have with her. But anyways, I hope you guys have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon. Take care.